Hi everybody, my name is Lee Russell. I am the man behind Hoagley Beer and Booze Reviews on YouTube. You may or may not know me. I'm doing a video today that I did not want to do, but certain things have forced my hand, I feel, and I should preface this by saying that this video is going to fall under the grounds of, I guess, internet drama. It's going to have some negative aspects to it, and if that does not interest you at all, if you do not want to hear it, please stop the video right now and go on about your business. But if not, this is going to be a fairly long video, I think, because I have a lot of things to go through, and we are going to get right into it. Now, I think most of you people will be familiar with one Simon Martin, Real Ale Guide, as he goes by on tons of different social media outlets. Most of you probably know him as the smiling, cheerful, affable young man who does beer reviews, seems very enthusiastic about craft beer, seems very helpful, seems to want to spread the good word of craft beer and educate people, and altogether seems like a very friendly guy. And this is what I initially thought of him. When I first met him, got along with him famously, do not get along with him anymore. Some recent events have made me come to the conclusion that Simon Martin is not all that he appears to be. This whole thing started when I was on Twitter. I was subscribed to Real Ale Guide's Twitter account, and I saw him retweet a tweet from Chad9976. Now, I think most people also know who Chad9976 is, and most people know what he's about. He used to be a beer tuber, retired, not a very popular guy in the community, although he was still one of the first beer tubers. But he made a tweet, and you can see it here. It says, "It only took 2 days before Beer Gig Nation copied Real Ale Today's idea of using a welcome video as the channel's default video. Hashtag stay classy." Now, it was not long after this that, and as you can see here, Real Ale Guide actually retweeted this. So essentially, Chad tagged Real Ale Guide in this tweet, and Real Ale Guide decided to retweet it. Now, this is blatantly ridiculous what Chad said in this tweet. There's a new feature on YouTube. It allows you to make a welcome video on your channel. Real Ale Guide took advantage of it. Chris Stelz of Beer Gig Nation took advantage of it. Now, to say that Beer Gig Nation copied Real Ale Guide is just beyond ridiculous. I mean, it's a new feature for everyone to take advantage of. I mean, I'm eventually going to do it. Does that mean I'm copying Real Ale Guide? Of course not. It's ridiculous. But Real Ale Guide decided to retweet it. So, it got me thinking, why would he do that? Did he realize what he just did? He essentially assisted Chad9976 in slandering someone else in the BeerTube community. Now, Chad himself has issues with Beer Gig Nation, Chris Stelz. They have a little bit of a checkered past as of late. I'm not going to get into details about that, but this was really just a very bitter, pathetic swipe at Chris Stelz. It's fairly obvious that it was, and it was, you know, at any other day it would have been ignored, but Real Ale Guide, a guy who I assumed was a positive, nice, helpful dude, decided to go in on this with Chad9976. So, we are going to go into the next little piece of evidence here, so to speak. And here we see a message I sent to Real Ale Guide via personal message on YouTube. And I say, hoping this just didn't get through on Twitter and you've been too busy to respond on Facebook, as I tried to contact him both those places as well. Hey Simon, I have to ask you a serious question. Why did you retweet Chad's little petty snipe at Chris, Beer Geek Nation? Surely you don't believe Chris ripped you off by posting a welcome video 2 days after you did, right? The welcome video, as you well know, is a new feature of the YouTube channel design. He was simply doing what you did. Take advantage of that feature. I mean, I'm doing one here soon. Does that mean I'm now ripping you off? I'd like to think you didn't realize what you did when you retweeted Chad's little hissy fit, but it makes it look like you agree with Chad, which is nuts. In case you didn't know, Chad holds a bit of a grudge against Chris because Chris blocked him on YouTube after repeated negative comments by Chad. It's crystal clear that Chris grabbed at this very shaky premise of Chris ripping you off as an excuse to send some hate Chris's way. Sadly, he used you to do it, and I hate to see that sort of thing happen, because I think you're a cool guy and a positive part of the BeerTube community. Sorry if this got all serious here, man, but when I see negative stuff like this going on BeerTube, I feel the need to say something. Cheers, Lee. And now we will go to what Simon said back to me in reply. Simon's reply is this. On the retweet, I have a fucked up sense of humor and did it for a bit of fun. I shouldn't have and probably wouldn't have if it wasn't for my visit recently by another beer reviewer on YouTube. Now keep this in mind, this gets important later. I did send you a direct message on Twitter. Didn't you get it? Anyway, it turns out that this person who visited me recently told me that Chris Stelz talks about every beer tuber out there behind their back, and I'm not happy about that at all. He has got you all promoting BGN in this weird pyramid system he has set up, which he benefits hugely from, and behind the scenes he is talking behind all your backs. The guy unsubscribed from me on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter because I chose not to join BGN. Don't you think that's a bit weird? Cheers, Lee, Simon. Now, that message sort of confused me a bit. It was starting to sound a bit weird to me. For instance, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm best friends with Chris Stelz. I'm not. I know him. We get along fine. I just haven't talked to him a lot. But I have talked to a lot of the other Beer Geek Nation guys, and I consider them friends, and I consider them good judges of character. So the things that Simon is saying here about Chris Stelz just don't add up. They don't make sense at all. So here is my reply to him. No, Simon, I didn't get a personal message back from you on Twitter. If I did, I wouldn't have tried to contact you again on both Facebook and YouTube. A fucked up sense of humor really isn't an excuse for joining Chad in public slander. I must say, Simon, knowing Chris a little and knowing the other BGN guys even better, who are personal friends of Chris, that sounds like total bullshit to me. You heard it from some guy? Some nameless beer tuber? Care to name names? Why does this sound like he said this schoolyard bullshit? I have some news for you, sir. Nobody benefits hugely doing beer reviews on YouTube in the way you are implying. Not Chris, not Chad9976, and not you. You have the nerve to claim he's using me and others to promote BGN? Sir, I've only rarely mentioned BGN, and never because someone asked me to or because Chris tried to buddy up to me. You just made a pretty serious accusation there without anything to back it up other than the fact that Chris doesn't like your beer reviews. It has as much legs to stand on as the accusation in your Chad retweet. Pyramid system? Give me a break, Simon. I'm not an idiot. I'm done watching you, Simon. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I can't support someone who engages in public sniping like this. I expected it from Chad, but you? Even if Chris was to turn out to be the worst guy in the world, to publicly do this sort of thing in the BeerTube community is low, brother. It ruins it for everyone else. Now, yeah, so I was pretty much ready to leave it there. I wasn't going to watch him anymore. I didn't really know if he was going to reply or what his reply was going to be, but the things he was saying sounded like his tinfoil hat was on too tight, quite frankly. So we're going to go now to what he replied back with. And here's where it really starts to get weird. Zippity-doo da, zippity-day. Yo, you obviously don't watch my channel anyway, otherwise you would know which beer reviewer visited me last week. Yeah, that's true. I just didn't want to name names. I wanted to see if he was going to name names. Anyway, he says, Chris is a bitch. Since people joined BGN, they have not bothered commenting on my videos, and I was slung out of this so-called community all because I refused to join BGN. Enough said. Don't bother me no more. I thought you were better than that. Now, this is really entertaining. And quite mystifying, actually, at first. It was so silly. BGN is just, a small little collection of beer reviewers on YouTube. Chris Stelz, of course, started it up. They have a reputation for being very good beer reviewers. And really, it's more just a collective thing for, people to find a bunch of reviews all in one place. There's not a lot of them. It's only Chris Stelz, Daniel Harper, Ryan Rashawn, Jameson, and Peter the Master of Hoppets. And some other people have done reviews for them too. I know Chris Stelz sent out a lot of requests for people if they wanted to join up at first, and this is basically the lineup. The idea that the BGN people are all of a sudden out to get him was ridiculous. I know for a fact that several of the BGN guys were regularly watching his videos and commenting on his stuff, even if Chris Stelz was not. So, we are going to go on to my reply to this. And here we go. One more bit and I'm done, Simon. Oh, I watched your videos and Mel's all the time. And Mel, of course, is Mrs. Real Ale Guide, his wife. I'm not trying to drag her into this, so this is the last time I'm going to mention her. And so do a couple of the BGN guys you seem to think are out to get you. You do know both Stumpy Joe Jr., which is Ryan Rashawn, and Peter are part of BGN, right? Ryan just commented on a video of yours recently, you silly fool. Chris Stelz has no power over anyone, and the BGN isn't some elite club. Newsflash. BGN isn't the beertube community, it's just another part of it. And you've been slung out of nothing but your own wits, it seems, going along with this petty negativity in public, aiding Chad in his pathetic grudge he holds. And now you start up this he said this bullshit and use Peter to do it? Ha! What is this, grade 2, Simon? It shows your character on how you handle it when you get caught doing something you shouldn't be doing and blaming someone else. Your ego has gotten the best of you, Simon. It's beertube, not a popularity contest. You've become every bit the arsehole you accuse Chris Stelz of being. Grow the fuck up. And here's his depressing reply, and this was where I was going to leave it. I wasn't planning on replying to him back about anything after this, and you'll very quickly see why. Man, you are so great. I love people like you. You asked me a fucking question, so I give you an answer, and you asked me if I'm in grade 2. From where I see this, Chris Stelz has got you to fight his battles. Pa ha ha. But the funny thing is, I didn't expect you to fall for it. How did he hypnotize you like this? Did he send you a video where he was waving his pecker around? LOL. I can't take you seriously, man. I haven't laughed so much in ages. Cheers for cheering me up. Your best friend Simon. Oh, P.S. Kiss, kiss. So that was basically it. I was like, okay, he's going to act like a child. I confront him with some disturbing evidence about things he's been saying and doing behind people's backs, and this is how he replies. This is how he tries to squirm out of it, apparently. And I was like, okay, if he's going to act like a child, I want nothing more to do with him. And I figured I'll just leave it at that. But unfortunately, Mr. Simon Martin, the Real Ale Guide, has been escalating his activities, so to speak, in recent months. The last couple of weeks, actually. He's been doing a lot of very unscrupulous things, and I'm going to highlight some of them here. Now, I'm not trying to make this an attack video. I'm not looking for YouTube flame war or anything like that. In fact, this video, as you probably already know, is a private video I'm uploading on YouTube, and I'm only sending the link to the people of Beer Drinkers United and the YouTube reviewers, both those groups on Facebook. For now, just a private link to the video so they can watch it. I'm not releasing it to the general public of YouTube at this point, although I might at some point. But yeah, I'm not trying to necessarily go after the guy. I just want to point out what he's been up to for people in case they didn't know. So anyway, like I said, I was going to leave this alone. I wasn't going to touch it anymore. I was just going to go on doing what I've been doing now on YouTube for years. Unfortunately, he started doing things like this. Here we see a recent video by Mr. Real Ale Guide. This is a beer that he claims he got from Beer Here, and it is the SOD Scandinavian Style Porter. Now, the interesting thing about this, and if you've been watching and following his channel, you will know that recently he was visited by another beer tuber, another well-known beer tuber, and a really nice guy, Peter, the Master of Hoppets, and his friend Jacob as well were over, and they did a series of videos together. Now, the thing you might not know is that Peter and Jacob left a couple of bottles of beer with Simon under the instruction to send those bottles along to another well-known beer tuber, who you probably all know as well, David Dowling, the Urban Viking from Urban Viking Ale Reviews, or Tuvar. Basically, Simon was going to be the middleman. Jacob and the Master of Hoppets couldn't get to David to give him the bottles personally, so they were going to have Simon send them along. Now, that sounded all well and good. But unfortunately, Simon had been getting a lot of flack lately from a lot of the different beer tubers out there, especially the UK beer tubers, and he seemed to take it personally. He has some issues with several of them now, including the Urban Viking. And so what he decided to do was drink the beers on camera and review them and claim that he had gotten them from some other means. And it should be important to point out that when he was confronted about these things, he went on a little blitzkrieg campaign on his videos with these beers in them, deleting comments, censoring people like Jacob, so he could try to cover his tracks and just claim, no, I got these beers from some other way, or whatever. But anyway, here he reviewed this beer. He not only reviewed this beer, he made little jabs at the Urban Viking at his expense, made reference to trolls, Vikings. It's not hard to put two and two together and see what he was getting at, and it was very unfortunate. The other beer he reviewed, and I'll just click here and find it. There it is. Put that up. It is the Three Floyds Amon Amarth. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly at all, but here he is wearing a wife beater, essentially, showing off his tattoo and his muscles, so to speak. And this is the second beer that was supposed to go to the Urban Viking, and here he is drinking it. And now his excuse for this, and this is actually a post on the YouTube beer reviewers group. You can actually scroll down and find it. Essentially, his excuse was that when asked by Jacob why he drank these beers that were supposed to go to the Urban Viking, he basically said that he had issues with the Urban Viking and he wasn't going to send the beers to him, so he decided to drink them in defense of himself somehow. Very ridiculous, just incredibly obtuse and stupid claim. Essentially what he did here, and I don't see how anyone could see this differently. You might disagree with some things I say about the Real Ale Guide here, but I don't see how any rational person could not just see this as outright stealing. He drank beers that Jacob and the Master of Hoppets paid for with their own money, traveled a long way to bring, just so this guy could sit there and drink them on camera when he was supposed to send them to David. So basically he stole money from Jacob. Master of Hoppets, I believe, also bought one of them or something. Perhaps, perhaps not. Either way, he did steal. And he also deprived the Urban Viking of beer that was rightly his. This is just disgusting. It is appalling, disgusting behavior. I have to put all my objectivity aside when you see something like this. It's just repugnant. He did it. There was no excuse for it. If he didn't want to send the beer to David, he should have given it back to the Master of Hoppets or to Jacob, so they could do with it what they wanted. Maybe send it by mail to David, something along those lines. A rational adult human being would do that, but this is the actions of a spoiled little kid who got butthurt by something, who had his pride hurt, and he decided to thumb his nose at the Urban Viking and really the beertube community as a whole, as far as I can tell. So before we go into my second exchange of personal messages with Real Ale Guide, and basically this stuff pissed me off to the point where I had to confront him again. We're going to go back and look at two other little posts here. And first, remember all these nasty things he said about Chris Stelz. I just happened, like, this is when I was ignoring Simon after our first exchange on YouTube. I was deciding, I'm done with him. But then I saw comments like this one under one of Chris Stelz's videos. In fact, a couple different videos he's been making comments, positive comments to people that he talks shit about in private. Look here. Kentucky Founders Kentucky Breakfast Stout of 2013. This was reviewed by Chris recently. This is the comment Real Ale Guide made. This sounds great. Nice review, Chris. Cheers. Does this sound like the Real Ale Guide who personal messaged me saying that Chris Stelz was basically the scum of the earth, that he was running a pyramid scheme of some sort, that he was brainwashing people, that he had some sort of grudge against Simon, and that Simon was basically being persecuted and ostracized from the beertube community because of Chris Stelz? Is this the sort of post a person like who had grievances like the Real Ale Guide supposedly had would make? No, I don't think so. Now we'll look at another interesting post here. This was a couple days later, after my exchange with him. Here it is. He says, he sent this on Facebook just out of the blue. Lee, fancy putting all this behind us and become friends again. I have nothing bad to say about you, my friend, and I really appreciate the beer you sent me, which I did send him some beer at one point. I am sorry for the silly behavior and the messages on YouTube. I need to take life and people more seriously. It's a huge problem on my end. Well, remember that he said this. This was before he drank those beers on camera that were for the Urban Viking. So, obviously, either he's a two-faced liar or he just didn't learn yet how to take people seriously. Apparently, it's still a huge problem on his end. Okay. So, he did that. He drank the SOD, the Amon Armarth, whatever it is. And so I decided I was going to have to contact him again. He's sitting there making positive comments to Chris Stelz, like he really likes him, which obviously he doesn't. Very two-faced, and so this is what I said to him. Personal message to him on Facebook. I said, trying to suck up to Chris Stelz really isn't going to work, Simon. I filled him in this week on what you've been saying behind his back, you dishonest cad, which I have. Chris Stelz had no idea that Simon was behaving in this way. Anyway, I shared your YouTube PMs with him. Remember those? Pyramid schemes and mind control? I think it would be best if you smarten the hell up already. An apology to the entire beertuber community is probably out of the question, as you don't seem quite adult enough, but you could make a good start of things by trying to stop being a jumped-up little shit. Perhaps just personal apologies to Peter, Jacob, and Tuvar over your recent little childish act might be in order. Either way, word of your less than honorable actions are slowly getting around to the other beer tubers and people who subscribe to us, so you should really try and smarten up. Now here's his reply. And we had this little conversation about 3 days ago, I guess it is now, early in the morning, for me anyway. Here he says, and basically he has threatened violence against me. If I ever see you in person, I'm going to cook you up and eat you. Pa ha ha. Essentially, he's saying here that he's going to fight me. He's going to assault me. He's going to attempt to anyway. My reply, at this point, I'm not taking him too serious anymore. I'm pretty much fed up with him. So I made a sort of sarcastic reply here. I'm a tasty treat, sir, but someone as small as you might want to invite some dinner guests to help with the main course. Threats of violence over the internet are always impressive, Now, Simon, don't be sore just because you're too dumb to cover your own tracks. Use this as a learning experience, grow from it, and be a better person instead of a dishonest little hypocrite. Simon Martin replies, Troll, I'm not sucking up to Chris Stelz. I just appreciate a decent beer reviewer. Get on G+, let's do this. So there you go. He basically just lied right here to me. He seems not to realize that with all of his social media exposure, using it for the betterment of his channel, and not to mention there have been rumors of him bumping up his views and likes on some of his videos on underhanded means. I don't have solid proof of that, but some of his videos seem a bit suspicious. Anyway, here's my reply. It's not trolling when it's honest, Simon, but hey, whatever you need to say to keep face and continue feeling justified in your scumbaggery. One day you might nut up enough to admit to yourself what an ass you've been. There is a good person in there somewhere, perhaps, and I really do hope you grow up so BeerTube can meet him. Then he says, get on G+, come on Keyboard Ninja, let's do this on G+. And I'm like, what for? What else needs to be said, Simon? And then he says, come on, faggot. I'm going to fucking bash you, Keyboard Ninja, get on G+. I say, what? Are you going to slap me through the computer screen? You really need to try living in the real world, Simon. And then he says, okay, you have wasted enough of my time, girl. Go back to thumbing down my vids and crying in Beer Drinkers United. You can't face me, LOL, and that gives me total satisfaction. I say, I'm happy you feel that way, Simon. Whatever gets you through and makes you feel a little less like an arse. I'm sure you can at least rehearse in your mind all the nasty things you were going to yell at me. That should make you feel like a real hard case. Cheers, internet tough guy. And basically that's it. That is all the evidence I think I need to show everybody. Now, if you're friends with Simon Martin, maybe you will discount everything I've said here. Maybe you won't accept what I've said. I don't know. I'm not necessarily trying to change minds here. I'm not trying to start an internet feud. I'm not trying to attack him necessarily. I'm just trying to warn people of what he's been up to. Here you can see he's been doing some very dishonest, nasty things in private. Unfortunately, some of these things are starting to leak out now because he doesn't seem to understand how to use social media to his advantage when it comes to covering his tracks. In fact, he's leaking stuff all over the place, like dropping little turds on the floor, and the trail is led back to him. And I can see why he's incensed, why he threatened violence towards me. It must be kind of shameful for him to get caught doing what he's doing. This latest action of stealing beer from the Urban Viking, essentially, is really the thing that took the cake for me, that made me want to make this video, that pissed me off to the point where I had to do it. I didn't want to do it. I don't like negativity. The BeerTube is one of the more positive things in my life. It's one of the things that I look forward to engaging in every day, meeting new people, talking about craft beer, learning stuff from different people, learning about amazing new beers, etc., etc. It's great stuff. It's awesome stuff. And every once in a while, you get a person like Simon Martin who is in it for himself, who's in it to try to make a living off YouTube, and is doing it by stepping on the backs, I think, of all of us. And I just wanted to basically warn people about what he's doing here on YouTube. This is the kind of stuff you can expect from him. I would just, put out a warning there that be wary if you're planning on doing a beer trade with this man or sending beer to him or just befriending him, because he has a tendency and a history of going behind people's backs. And it's very unfortunate. It's very sad. I don't know why he's doing this. I don't know if he's a bad person or if he's just run into an unfortunate point in his life where his head is up his own ass and he just can't see the forest from the trees, whatever. But I'm going to leave it at this. I just wanted to put this out there for everybody to see in a still more of a semi-private way. I'm not putting it public again. I'm not putting it public on YouTube quite yet. I'm just leaving it here for everybody else to see at first, so you can decide amongst yourselves whether you want to interact, whether you want to have future dealings with this man. I would not tell you to attack him. I would not. I do not encourage you to personal message him, assault him, attack him, whatever. He doesn't seem to have either the self-awareness or the guts to admit when he's been wrong or a jerk. So questioning him, trying to shame him doesn't seem to. It doesn't seem to hold any water. It doesn't seem to work at all. So, I think the best thing to do would be to just turn our backs on him. He's obviously turned his backs on a lot of people. That's just my opinion. But like I said, I'm just putting this video out there. I'm putting the facts out there as I know them. There's a lot of other stories out there about stuff he's been doing. This is just the stuff I've encountered personally. And I thought I had to share. I felt it was important to share this with you guys. So thanks for listening to the whole thing if you did, and I hope this gives you something to consider. I hope I didn't bore you or piss you off doing this. And take care, everybody. Bye-bye.